Hello everyone, welcome back again to my channel. So guys, in today's video I'll be making this dartless dress showing on the thumbnail. So guys, if this is what you are interested in learning, please keep watching. Let's dive into it. I'll rule out all my lines. Okay, now I'll start by measuring out the lines. So this is my chest line, my bust line, my waistline, my hip line, and the full length. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to take my shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 7.5 plus half an inch for joining allowance 8 inches. Then I'll go ahead and use my ruler to make a straight line to connect them together. The next thing I'll do now is to take my neck width measurement. The neck width I'm using is 2.6 inches for the width, and for the depth is 3 inches for the depth. Now I'll go ahead and connect them together like this, then use my curve ruler to make a curve at the neckline. For my shoulder slope, I came down from the shoulder line by 1 inches. I'll connect it back to the neckline. So for my armhole curve, I divided my armhole into 2 to get the midpoint. Then from the center, I came in by half an inch. Then I mark my bust measurement right there. And I'm going to connect these 3 dots together to make a curve. After doing that, I'll go ahead and now I'll take my dart. I'll mark half of my nipple to nipple into 2, which is 4 inches. At my bust line, I mark 4 inches. My waistline mark 4 inches. At my hip line, I came up by 2.5 inches. Then mark it right there. Mark 4 inches there as well. Now go ahead and use my ruler to connect the lines together, making a straight line. So guys, at my waistline, I'm going to come up by 0.6 inches for my dart legs. Now I'm going to connect from my bust line down to the dart leg I just marked. I'll connect it like this. Now from the waistline, I'll connect it down to the hip line. So guys, after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to take my body measurement. So I will input my bust measurement, which is 9.7 inches. I will add 1 inches for sewing allowance. At my waistline, I will mark my waist measurements, then replace the dart intake I took here and add 1 inches for sewing allowance. Now I'm going to connect from my bust line down to my waistline. The next thing I'm going to do now is to take my hip measurement. So my hip measurement is 11.5. So I'm going to add 2 inches for allowance. The reason why I'm adding 2 inches is because this dress is dartless. So by the time I cut out the dart on the skirt part, which is down part, so I'll be left with 1 inches allowance. Okay, so I'm going to connect from my waist down to my hip. To take my knee measurement, which is the full length, I'm going to minus 2 inches away from my hip measurement, my initial hip measurement. So the total I have is now 9.5. My hip measurement was 11.5, so I minus 2 inches away from the 11.5. So that's how I got the 9.5 inches knee measurement. Okay, so I'm going to connect from my hip down to the full length using my ruler. After marking the 9.5 inches, I added 1 inches for sewing allowance, then connect from my hip down to my knee. After doing that, I'll come over to the bust line to take my bust start measurement. From my bust line, I came down by 1.5 inches. So I'll connect it back to the bust line dart. Okay. Now I'll be cutting out this part right here. So I'm going to just extend this bust line by half an inch to connect it back to the bust dart. When I cut out the bust dart, I won't be having shortage at the sides. Now I'll go ahead and cut out my paper. I'm done drafting. I'll go ahead and add half an inch to the shoulder for joining allowance. As I said earlier, this dress has no dart. If you watch carefully, so I'll manipulate the darts on my paper before I transfer to my fabric. So after sewing, you won't see any dart line. Okay, so I'm just cutting out my neckline. So the next I'm going to do now is to split the waistline into two so that I'll be able to cut out the darts. So after splitting the paper into two, so I'll be working on the upper part first. Now go ahead and cut out my bust dart. Okay. Now I'll go ahead and also cut one of the darts leg at the waist so that I'll be able to close the bust darts. So after closing it like this, I will tape it down. After taping it down, now go ahead and cut out the other dart leg at the waistline. So I'm done cutting. I'm going to place another paper underneath this waistline. Okay, then I'll tape it down as well. So with this, I'll be able to cut out the waist dart. Okay, so from the armhole, I'm going to place my ruler at that point. So I just went ahead to indicate my dart legs. Okay, so from this armhole, I'll place my ruler like this. Then I'll connect it to the one. I'll connect it to one of the dart leg. Then connect the other one from the armhole to the dart leg as well. So after doing this, I'll go ahead and cut it out. So I'll cut through the new dart legs that I just rolled. Okay. Now go ahead and close it up and then tape it down. So on this paper you see one side is longer than the other side, but don't worry about that. So we'll complete it after cutting out the dart at the skirt part, which is the down. So for the skirt part, so I'm going to place my ruler at one of the dart leg like this. So I'm going to connect it down to the full length. So roll it down like this, then place the ruler at the other dart leg and connect it to meet the first line that I just drawn at the down part. Okay, the second dart leg will meet the first line that I marked at the down part. Okay, so this is what it looks like at the down part. Okay, so after doing that, now go ahead and cut through the lines. So when I get to the ending, I will leave about to quarter of an inch or quarter of an inch at the down part so that I'll be able to close it up. Okay, I'm not going to cut all the paper at the down part, so I'm just cutting now the dart legs I just drawn. So with this, you'll be able to manipulate the down part, the dart at the down part. So after doing that, now go ahead and tape it, close it. So I'm not overlapping, I'm just closing it back. Okay, so I'm done with that. At the upper part here, one side is shorter, okay, but don't worry about that as well. Now I went ahead and check my hip measurement again. So I take my hip measurement, so I still have extra 1 inches for sewing allowance. So this is the reason why I added 2 inches for the hip measurement. Okay, because of that uh I cut out. Now I have no shortage at the hip line, so I still have extra sewing allowance. Okay, now I'm going to gum these two together like this, the upper part and the down part together, then I tape it down. So at the space right there, I'm going to place another paper underneath, then tape it down. So the paper I placed underneath is just to complete the space, the opening right there. Okay, so after taping it down, I'll go ahead and retake the measurement at the waistline again, then shaping it properly. So I'm done taping it. Now go ahead and take my half length measurement and then reshaping the waistline again so that I'll have a nice shape. So I'm just trying to reshaping the waist on the bust. Okay, so guys, this is all for the front uh drafting and cutting. Now this is the back pattern right here. I've ruled out all my lines. So this is the chest line, my bust line, my waistline, my hip line, and the full length. Okay, so from my shoulder down to my chest line is 8 inches, bust point 10.5, waistline 17 inches. So I also use 17 inches as my half length for the front, and the hip line same hip measurement 25 inches. Okay, and then the neck depth I use is 2.5 and the width is 2.6 inches, just the same way I did to the front. So the zipper allowance is 1.2 inches. That's my zipper allowance. So the difference between the front and the back pattern is the zipper allowance on the back neck depth. So every other thing I did is the same. So now I went ahead and mark out my dart the same way I take the front dart. Okay, so I've marked my half of my bust span into two. Now go ahead and take my waist dart. I'm using 0.6 inches for the waist dart. Okay, so I'll connect it from my bust line to my waistline. So this back pattern has no bust dart. Okay, this back pattern has no bust dart. Now go ahead and input my bust measurement, which is 9.7, and I will add 1 inches for sewing allowance as well. For my waistline, I will place my waist measurement, I'll mark it right there, and then replace my replace my dart intake. Then I'll add 1 inches for sewing allowance. At my hip, I take my hip measurement, then add 2 inches for sewing allowance, just the same way I did for the front, because of the dart manipulation I will do at the down part. Now go ahead and connect from my bust down to my waistline, and from my waist down to my hip line. Okay, using my curve ruler. Now from my hip line, I'm going to minus 2 inches away to get my knee round curve or my full length. Okay, so I'll connect it from my hip down to my full length using my ruler. Okay, so as I said earlier, there's no bust dart at the back. Now at my waistline, I'm going to minus half an inch away. I'll come in by half an inch for the zipper bulge. This is to eliminate the zipper bulge at the zipper area. Now from my shoulder, I came down by 4 inches, so I'm going to connect the half an inch I marked at the waistline to the 4 inches I marked like slant. Okay, so at my hip line at the down part, I came down by 1.5 inches, 2 inches, sorry, then slant it to that line. So with this, I'll be able to eliminate the zipper bulge at the back. Okay, so now go ahead and cut this part out. At the shoulder, I went ahead and add half an inch for joining allowance. Okay, so I'll just use my ruler to connect the dots together like this. So after drafting, now I'm done. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. So now I'm done cutting it out. The next I'm going to do now is to split the waistline into two. So I'll cut through the waistline. Okay, so that I'll be able to cut out the back darts and manipulate it. Now I will set the down part aside, then work on the upper part first. So from the armhole, I'm going to use my ruler to connect to one of the dart leg, and from that armhole as well, I'll connect to the other dart leg. So this new line that I just drawn out, this will be the new dart leg. Okay, so I'll cut through the lines, then close it up. The back dart manipulation is very easy. Okay, so I'm cutting through the lines now, and leave about 1/4 of an inch at the armhole. Don't cut all the paper. Now go ahead and close it up with my tape. So after doing that, I'll set it aside and work on the down part. So the down part is same thing I did to the front pattern paper. Okay, so guys, this is the back skirt part. Okay, this is the same thing I did to the front. From one of the dart leg, I connect it down to the full length, mark the other dart leg to connect to the dart legs I drawn. Now go ahead and cut it out, okay, then tape it down. So it is very easy. So after doing that, I'll close it and tape it down, okay, just tape it, close it to not overlap it. Next I'm going to do now is to place the two half lengths together, the upper part and the down part. So at the zipper area, just close it, and for the side of this pattern paper, make sure it's closed. Just make sure it's closed. Watch carefully how I close the side, okay. You know the front has space at the side, but this back pattern paper has no space. Make sure it's closed and it's not overlapping, okay. Then I went ahead and placed another paper underneath it, then tape it down, okay. So after doing that, I have one piece right here. So now go ahead and transfer it to my fabric. So cutting out this dart on my paper will make my dress come out so neat, okay. There will not be the dart lines again on the dress. So this is the crepe fabric I'll be using for this dress. So I've already cut out my fabric using my paper to cut out my fabric. Now for the neck turn up, I went ahead to cut out an interfacing for the neck, the back and the front using the same fabric. So and the fabric is unfold, I'll cut exactly through the neckline, and for the width of the neck, I'm using 2.5 inches for the interfacing, which is the width. So I'll also cut the same shoulder measurement, okay. Now after cutting out the front neckline, I went ahead and notched the center of the neckline, and then remove the upper part, pin it down, and then take the measurement I want to use for the turn up. So I'm using 2.5 inches for the neck turn up for the width. So after doing that, I'll cut it out. I'll also cut out the back turn up, okay, the back interfacing. Now I'll go ahead and cut out the collar. So my fabric is folded into four, okay. I have four pieces right here. So two pieces for the collar and the other two pieces is for the lining. So I'm using the same fabric to turn the lining, the collar, sorry. Now I'm going to place the front piece to the fabric. So at the center, I'll leave half an inch space at the center. So after doing that, I'll pin it down. So this is the half an inch I left behind. Now I'll go ahead and use my pen to uh, trace out the neckline and the shoulder line. So I'll trace it to the ending of the neckline. I'll also trace out the shoulder line. For the collar length, I'm using 2.7 inches for the collar length. So I just mark it right there and continue tracing the shoulder line. After doing that, I remove my pins and remove the front fabric. So I'll also pin it down so that the fabric won't be moving. I went ahead to mark the 2.7 inches round the neckline. This is how I want the collar length to be. So you can try to increase your collar as well, the collar length. Now after doing that, I'll just connect the neckline together like this. Now from the center, I'll mark 1 inches inward like this. So this 1 inches is the center opening at the collar. So I'll place my ruler like this, like slant, then towards that 1 inches that I marked, I'll go ahead and use my ruler to connect it like this. Okay, now I'll go ahead and cut it out. So this 1 inches is just how wide I want the center opening to be. Okay, I'll go ahead and cut it out. So after cutting it out, you have to indicate where your shoulder line is. Okay, so I'll go ahead now and use my pen to indicate my shoulder side, because the shoulder side and the neck opening is almost the same. Now remove my piece and then go ahead and iron my paper stain on it. So I've ironed it on my fabric. Now go ahead and stitch the center piece with 1/2 inch, just like this, and then sew the down piece with 1/4 inch, 3/4 inch, and then notch this part that I sew, turn it over to the right side. So guys, I'm done sewing it and also notch it, turn it over to the right side, and this is what it looks like. Now to cut out the Ankara cape at the center, so I went ahead and measure from the neckline down to the full length to know the measurement I'll be cutting out on my fabric. Okay, so after measuring it out, I went ahead and cut my Ankara. So this is the Ankara piece I'm using. So the width I'm using is 1.6 inches on fold. Okay, this piece is on fold, and the length I'm using is 45 inches. So this is the pleat fabric I'll be using. Now the width I'm using is 7 inches. So when I fold it into two, so I have 3.5 inches. Now go ahead and sew down the side on fold. Okay, so after sewing it, I'll turn it over to the right side. So this is my Ankara fabric right here. I've sewn it and turn it over to the right side and press it down with my iron. I'll sew my pleat fabric and turn it over to the right side. Okay, this is what it looks like at the right side. Now I use my ruler to just mark a straight line, okay, so that I'll be able to have a nice pleat. So the length of this pleat fabric is 100 inches because it has a lot of pleats, so I cut out 100, okay, for the length. Now go ahead and pleat on the lines I rule out, just like this. It's very easy after ruling it out with chalk. Now, so I'll start pleating. Okay, so I prefer to pleat on the fabric first before I take it over to my dress. From one line to another, I'll pleat on it and pin it down. So I'll do it to the ending. So after doing it, I'll take it over to my dress and then place it on my dress. So pleating it before taking it over to my dress, I feel is more easy. Okay, now this is my dress right here. I'll place it on my dress and then use my tape to measure the side, just to make sure I have a straight line. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. I'm checking the both sides to have same measurement. With this, the plate will be on a straight line. Okay, so as I'm arranging the plate on my dress, I'm pinning it down as well so that it won't move. Okay, so I'm checking the sides just to make sure it's on a straight line. After pleating it, I took it over to my sewing machine and run a straight line on the center to secure the plate. So I also went ahead and placed my cara on the fabric, then top stitch on both sides. To fix the collar, I went ahead and placed my collar at the neckline and sew it down. So after sewing it down, I placed my facing that I cut out earlier. So I'll use it to turn it over to the wrong side. Okay, so after sewing it, I went ahead and notched it at the neckline so that it will last properly after turning it over to the wrong side. Now go ahead and top stitch on the neckline. Okay, so I'll raise up my collar like this, then top stitch only on the main fabric. Okay, so I'll top stitch it round the neckline, raising up the collar. So I'm not top stitching on the collar. So after top stitching, this is what it looks like. I'll also iron it out. So at the back, I went ahead and used my hemming gum to hem down the back. Okay, this is the finished look of the collar. Now I'll go ahead and join my two shoulders together, the back and the front shoulders together. Okay, so I've placed my shoulder together like this and then join it. Okay, and also fix my sleeve and fix my zipper. Okay, there is slit opening at the back, so I went ahead now and shaping the sides and hem down the down part. So this is what it looks like after sewing everything. Okay, this is what it looks like at the down part. Okay, this is what it looks like, and this is what it looks like at the back. I use an invisible zipper for the back, and this is the slit opening. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, if you find it helpful, please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share. See you guys on my next video. Bye.